Hi there, this is Linda and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. Today I'm going to do something a little different and share with you kind of what my storytelling setup is for 2025 and start getting some stories told. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Okay, so I have quite a few things on my desk here, and before I dive into that, I just kind of want to set the stage for you a little bit before I get into these. So if you've been following me for a while, you know that I document my life in Project Life, and that is something I have done for over a decade. But I've also been a traditional scrapbooker, and I am a journaler. I like documenting my life in a variety of different formats. Starting in 2022, I started keeping 6x8 story albums. And essentially these were albums where I just document various stories from the year. And they're in various sizes. Some of them are traditional layouts. Some of them are pocket pages. There's just a mix of things, right? So these are my 2024 albums, and they're not completed. And that's okay. I work on them. I have plans for a lot of pages in here. You can see this one actually is very close to done. So I'm probably going to work on that soon to try to wrap this one up. But I have one album for 2022, and then 23 and 24, I had two 6x8 albums. And essentially they were, the first 6 months of the year, the second 6 months of the year. And what I did to fill these albums was plan a variety of stories. Most of them are already pre-planned using the story kits from Ali Edwards, from the Stories by the Month kits, the quarterly scrapbook kits, and I was also using Cocoa Daisy kits. Sometimes I plan my pages in advance, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I'm working with a specific kit, sometimes I'm not, and I just want to tell a specific story. Moving into 2025, I wanted to do something a little bit different, and part of this was sparked by the products I had because I want to use my stash. So I was lucky enough to be sent the entire December daily collection from 2024, and it was a gorgeous collection and I absolutely loved it, but I only needed one album to complete my December daily project. The collection came with these two albums which match, which I thought would be super fun to kind of have a coordinating album for something. But I know I'm never gonna do a 10x8 for December daily again. I did it once before and I just don't see myself doing that again in the future. And while I do like the small sizes, I really wanted these ones to go together. So I thought it would be fun for 2025 to tell my stories in a 10x8 and a 4x6 rather than two 6x8 albums. And to do this, I'm not doing, first 6 months, second 6 months, but I'm going to try to tell stories in both. This is a challenge because I've never planned just regular layouts in something this small. I've only done like a travel album or December daily or something in this size. The 10x8 is also super fun because it's giving me the option to do some bigger pages, but I can still do the 6x8s. So what I'm going to share with you guys right now is my starting place for these. And I've shared in a previous video kind of how I plan my album out, but essentially I plan spreads using the various kits, and then I put them into a spreadsheet that shows kind of how they fit together. And I know that that seems a little bit much for a lot of people, but it works really well for me to know kind of where I have gaps. So far I have in here in this one a starting page, a 2-page spread here for my one little word. I have a page here, I have a blank spot, I have a spread, and then I have 2 additional pages, a blank spot, and then a pocket page. Now I'm still working around with this, but essentially my thought is the first few pages are going to be January, then I'm going to move into February and March. It is currently March while I'm filming this, and if you watch it when it first goes live, it's still March. So my thought is that I want to try to kind of wrap up the first quarter of the year in terms of planning and getting stories told towards the end of March, and then I'll move into the second quarter. So I have some stories that I've already told in here. You can see a lot of these are using the new Storyteller kit. Some of them are from story kits. Some of them I planned last year and I'm just putting them in here just depending on what the story is and whether it fits in this first quarter. So this one is kind of where I'm not going to really touch that one today. What I want to do today is start this one. So the 10 by 8 has come so much more naturally to me, but this 4 by 6 is super intimidating for me because it's such a small size. But that's why I wanted to kind of have this challenge. So I have a few pages that I plan to put together, and I'm going to create them right now with you here. I'm going to crop these out. So I decided that the outside the page protector size in here is 5 by 6.25. So I'm going to crop, I printed a couple photos to this size, and I'm going to have some of my projects will be outside the page protector. Some will be in, just like in the 10 by 8. And it's just going to be a collection of stories. Because this album is smaller in size, but I also think the rings are smaller. Yeah, the rings are a little smaller. It's not going to hold as much, and that's okay. I think my goal is to tell just a couple stories per month in here and probably a few more in the 10 by 8, but I anticipate the 10 by 8 getting super chunky, and I'm going to be mindful of that as I plan my stories. So I'm going to start this album out with this. And so these in Ziploc bags are planned projects that I put together a plan for in some sort. Usually I film those. And both of these, so these two are from the Hello Story Kit, so they're planned in that classroom. And this one is from the Fun Storyteller Kit. So I'm actually going to mix it up a little bit. So I initially planned for this to be my intro to this album, my cover page. And I was going to just crop this down and put this on here. And I have decided I'm going to kind of mix that up because I love this paper so much. And I think I want to use this one as my intro because I just love this paper, and put this on there. And then I'll use this one on the next spread with this photo of me to talk about, you know, like this is me right now. And then I have one more page I want to create, which is talking about the projects and the creative teams that I'm on going into 2025. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put you guys on voiceover and get these first few pages put together in this album, and then I will wrap this up. Okay, so I start with my cover page, and I know I want to use this gorgeous paper, and you guys, it pained me to cut it. I love it so much. And one of the things I struggled with a little bit with these albums is the bright red interior and how dark the cover was, because that is going to be a backdrop for all of my pages, but I decided to just kind of let it go. And honestly, I think it ends up working with these papers in the end. So I wanted to put that chipboard on there from the start kit, but I felt like it was lacking something. So I decided I wanted to stamp the date. So what I'm going to do is stamp 2025 large with this number set. I think this was maybe from Week in the Life. I don't even remember when this set was from, but this is from Allie Edwards. And I was going to stamp I'm stamping 2025 onto this vellum, and then I'm going to cut out each of the numbers and put it on that title page. I'm going to adhere them down in like a grid pattern and put the chipboard in the middle. And I love how it comes out as just a super simple cover page. Oh my gosh, you guys, this was so frustrating. I tore the 5.5 here as I was adding the adhesive, and I considered just kind of gluing it back together, but with the vellum, you could see the rip. So what I decided to do was just create another one. I have more of the vellum. I stamped another 5 down and I'm cutting it out. But this is one of the reasons why I like to stamp on vellum and cut it out, because it's okay if you make a mistake. You can just redo it without having to redo your entire page. And I understand if I had stamped directly on the paper, it wouldn't have torn, but my stamping could have been off. My stamping could have been less than perfect. My Stays On ink is a little bit dry too, but when I'm doing something like this, I knew I wanted to be super bold, so I'm pressing really hard to make sure I get a good imprint. And because I'm doing on vellum, like I said, if I got a bad imprint, I could always redo it. So that wrapped up my cover page, and then I'm going to move on to the page on the back, which I just wanted to have a simple spread that included a photo of me now, because I didn't put one on the title page. So this photo is from February, and I'm just trimming it to adhere these back to back. I'm going to punch some holes and call this good. I'm going to pair this photo of me, which was taken in Dubai this past February, with the love pattern paper there from the Start Story Kit and that chipboard piece that is from the Fun Storyteller Kit. And I just wanted to put something on there. I decided I didn't want to do any like longer journaling or anything, just kind of like an intro to this is me right now. And so I'm thinking a little bit about that. Oh, that was not the Start Story Kit. It's the Hello Story Kit. So it's the last story kit that came out. And so what I did was I brought over the story stamp from the Hello Story Kit, and I'm going to stamp hello right into that chipboard piece because it fits perfectly. And what I really wanted was something that said like, this is me, or this is me now, or something like that. But the hello was just, it fit perfectly in there. So I just went with it. And then I wanted to add a little bit more. So I decided I didn't want to handwrite or anything in here, and I didn't want to make something. So I went over to my stash and found this word phrase strip. And I'm just trimming it down so that it can be as small as possible to fit on there. And this was from an older release, I think from Stories by the Month. And it just says, this is my right now, which was kind of the sentiment I was going for with this spread. I struggled a little bit trying to figure out where to put it on there. I feel like I should have put the hello stamp a little bit higher on the chipboard so that I had space in the bottom for it, but it works out. And then I'm moving on to the last spread. This last spread is one that is a little bit more detailed. I'm going to have some journaling, and this, rather than being part of the introduction to the album, is an actual spread about a specific story, which is going to be about my creative teams and kind of the crafts I'm doing this year in 2025 in relation to those teams. So what my journaling ends up being mostly about is the change in the story kit to the storyteller kit, and how I initially struggled with it, but ultimately I am really, really happy about this change, and it has really reinvigorated my ability to kind of work through my albums, because I feel like with the story kits, having a new release every month, especially for someone like me being on the creative team and needing to plan out my projects during that month for the classroom content, I was always so excited for the new kit and excited about the spreads as I was planning them out. But before I had a chance to create them, or create many of them, I usually could create one or two, I was moving on to the next kit to plan the next kit, and I was excited about the next kit and kind of had lost my enthusiasm for the last one. And the result of that is I have a huge stack of planned projects that are not completed. And my goal for 2025 is to make a huge dent in that. I don't see myself working through all of them this year, because I am going to prioritize working with the new storyteller kits and trying to crush those each quarter. But my goal is to work through that backlog. And I see, kind of the light at the end of the tunnel with that. The fact that I'm only going to get 4 new kits to plan this year. And yes, I still am getting the stories by the month, but I use most of those in my Project Life album. So it's just not the same as the story kits, which had so many projects related to them. So that's what my journaling is going to end up being about. I'm going to go ahead and journal on this 4x6 card horizontally or vertically. So I'm putting the card vertically and I'm going to put it into one of the divided page protectors. And I'm just doing my handwritten journaling here. And I'm also reflecting on my other creative team, which is the Cocoa Daisy team, and just how happy I am to be on both of these teams and the changes that were coming this year versus in the past. So that is going to wrap this up. I'm going to put a little bit of music on and I will check back in with you at the end. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. And as always, I hope to see you guys all in the next one. Thanks. Bye.